Welcome to Badger Beer, our August 22 edition. We will have an interview with uh, Tom Dufect from Youngblood. Um, we will have Chris signing in from Third Space. He's at the tail end of the IPA judging. Landon's here to join me, keep this thing going, and I am enjoying a still kind of fresh tasting Hopalicious here from Ale Asylum. So without further ado, we're going to jump into this month's beer events first, and then we'll get to the news later.
Greg.
What's up, Landon? How you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
Good. We are in full effect as far as events go. Probably the most events, especially big ones that we've had since we've been doing this thing because we started during the pandemic. So
Right.
yeah, had
We've got
a couple events, big events just happened, but we have some coming up, and that was my segue to you. I should have tossed.
Yeah, you mentioned Chris was judging IPAs at Third Space, so that Wisconsin IPA Fest is actually coming up this Saturday. For the general public, for everybody can go have all of the IPAs this Saturday.
Nice.
So that's from 2 to 5. IPAs from all across Wisconsin. It's actually the 6th annual IPA Fest. So they have their big beer garden there. IPAs from everybody. I don't have a price for that, but I bet Chris will probably have something when he gets on. But
yeah, and I think part of this is that they like many of them are just brewed IPAs for this effect, this fest, I believe.
A lot of them, yeah. Yep.
Right. Okay, cool. So then it's not just going to be like the normal ones. There's going to be some good ones. And that's a reason for y'all to go out, especially if you're IPA heads.
Or at the very least, try IPAs from breweries that you haven't been to. I know there's a lot of breweries that people haven't gotten to, especially from this part of the state, or have never had beer from. So it's a good opportunity to try stuff from different places.
Yeah. Milwaukee's only a few hours away, so you can get back. You can get down and get back same day.
That's right.
A little road tripping, but
yeah. Coming up this Saturday too, if you're not into IPAs, our friends over in Stevens Point are supplying the beer for Beer and Cheese for Pets, Please. It is from 5 to 9 at the Feltz Family Farms and Dairy Store. You can do that either under the stars or under the tent. And like I said, Point Brewery is supplying unlimited samples of their famous beer, hard ciders, root beer, and sodas. And they're going to tap a special keg of what? I'm not sure, but they're tapping a special keg. And then, of course, like any good Wisconsinite, they'll have all kinds of cheese and award-winning treats. So cheese and beer, man, it's the best of both worlds.
Okay. Well, I kind of read that wrong. It said beer or cheese for pets. I was wondering if the humans could get some of the cheese too. So clearly, it's for the humans and not the pets.
I think. I don't know. You'd want to take your pet home if you feed them a bunch of cheese.
Right. But also, though, is this a pet-friendly event? Do you know?
It didn't say.
It's for the pets, though.
So it's for the Humane Society. Okay. It's benefiting the Humane Society over there.
Okay. Y'all need to look up. Google if you're gonna go. Obviously, you go to any event nowadays, Landon. You should Google the event and go see the fine print. Maybe it is pet friendly, but y'all need to check that out before you drag your pets there. We don't want you leaving them in the car.
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
cool.
And tickets are $40 for that. So that's kind of a between $40 and $55 is about what we're seeing for most of these events. So.
Yeah, and it sounds like most of it goes to charity, so that's good. That's good.
Yeah. It's a great time, and you get beer from Point. Yeah. in more my neck of the woods, Bloomer Beer and Wine Fest is happening this weekend too, from 1 to 5 p.m. It is at the Bloomer Fairgrounds, which surprised me. I did not know that Bloomer had a fairgrounds, but they apparently indeed do. You can sample beer and wine from local favorites as many national brands.
Okay.
Cost of that event is $45.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah. So I think I looked at the list. Places like Oliphant, Valkyrie, a lot of the locals from around here. So good time to be had there.
Yeah, a little day drinking from 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Then you go out to a nice dinner, but you need a designated driver after all that wine and beer.
That's right.
But right. Or Uber.
Well, and you're in Bloomer. You can either go to Bloomer Brewery after that, or you can head up to Valkyrie.
There we go. Look at that.
That's right.
Tips.
And then later on this month, the 27th, so next weekend, is the 14th annual Potosi Fest. And of course, that is in Potosi at the Holiday Gardens Event Center. It is from 1 to 4:30. So they're going to have more than 60 vendors, breweries, distilleries, wineries, specialty meats and cheeses. And then backed by popular demand is the Beer Stein Holding Contest, as well as other games, live music, and food. VIP for that event is $65. And then for all of us who don't do VIP, it's $49.
Is that how you do it? Is this
that's how you do it.
Is that proper?
Straight arm. Got to have the straight arm. Yeah.
Nathan, have you ever seen one of these events?
Yeah, I've been in it.
Okay. Perfect. Because I never did. So we're going to take a little time to unpack this a little bit.
Yeah.
So how long is it full of beer, right?
Well, it depends on where you go. So for places that don't like to waste beer, because beer will be wasted, correct, they fill it with water.
Oh, okay. So it's filled though. So the mug is filled.
It's totally full. Yep.
And you have to hold it out, like 90 degrees? Just
like that. Yep.
Until your arm drops.
As long as you can. Yep.
So if your arm drops.
If your arm drops or you spill something, because your arm may not drop, but you start getting shaky.
Right.
Yeah, you spilled something and you're done.
Oh, and how long does this usually take, or how long did it take for y'all?
That day I was feeling particularly strong, and I outlasted everybody else that was in it. So, I don't know, minute and a half, 2 minutes, something like that, maybe longer. I've seen some, like at the Leinenkugel's Oktoberfest. They're getting 3-4 minutes.
Wow! So you won.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
right.
Okay.
Got a free beer out of it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to try that. That sounds fun. So that is at the Potosi 14th annual. So obviously they've been having a bunch of these.
Yeah.
60 vendors. So it sounds like not only we have beer, we have wine, we have distilleries. So it seems like a nice variety. I've never been, but it sounds like one of my events. VIP 60.
Yeah,
65.
I hear good things about it. I've heard lots. I've never been there myself either.
Yeah, that's tucked down in the corner over there by Iowa. But and Potosi is a fun, literally blink. If you blink when you're driving through, you're gonna miss it. Place. But it will be interesting to see how they do all that. But it's funny because the smallest places sometimes throw the biggest and best parties.
Yeah, that's true.
I would absolutely, because nothing else is going on. So when it does go on, it's epic.
Yeah.
And that's what this sounds like. So yeah, man, y'all get over there. I would, of course, like I said, I would Google it, but it looks like it's from 1 to 4:30 p.m. So more day drinking. And I love day drinking as opposed to night drinking. Let's get it down and over with, man. But yeah, so that sounds great, Landon. So what do we have next? Another one.
We're gonna run into September because the next show will be after this. So it's the Thirsty Troll Brew Fest, and it's Saturday, September 10th, from 1 to 5. More day drinking, at the
Yes.
Grundle Park in Mount Orab.
Oh yeah.
And so this is an intimate beer sampling that features 30 craft breweries serving over 125 different beers. That's quite a few beers from just 30 breweries.
It is.
The festival takes place, like I said, in Mount Horeb, known as the troll capital of the world. That's in your neck of the woods.
Yes.
Tickets are $45 in advance or $50 at the door.
And
You ever been to Troll Fest?
No,
No.
but I've been to the Thirsty Troll Brewery, which is the only brewery that I know of that they claim is haunted.
Really?
Yeah, they say it's haunted. And the employee said this isn't like a whisper, like a locals. I've only been there.
Yeah.
I've been there 2 times, and both employees talked about how it's haunted, and they hear shit up stairs when they're working downstairs. And things move and all this other stuff. So if y'all ever go there, ask the employees about it. At least the ones I talked to were very open about it.
Yeah.
It seemed like they embraced it and didn't say anything. So it kind of fits with the trolls, because maybe they just have troll ghosts running around in
There you go.
but yeah, you've been in Mount Horeb, right? Have you?
No.
They have trolls all
Everywhere.
around town. It's like a I guess trolls and gnomes are different things. I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole, but
Sure.
they look like the gnomes that people carry around. It's a fun little, nice, interesting small city. And again, we're back to when small cities throws parties. Generally, they're epic and they're great, and they put a lot of effort into that.
Yeah.
So if y'all are interested, that is 2 Saturdays, right?
Yep. Well, more than that. It's September 10th.
Cool. Actually, now that I think about it, I think I was at the Thirsty Troll Brew Fest. I think I went there once, a long ass time ago now.
Sure.
And because the pandemic makes 5 years.
Yeah.
Like 10, so it's probably more like 5, but it feels like 10. But yeah, it's a good again. I'm vaguely remembering it now. This is when I was first into craft beer, and I had a really good time, and it was a low key one. And I think there is, given that we just went through the Great Taste of the Midwest, there is a place for these lower key craft beer events where you can go and just chill out, not have to feel you have to be all these places, not what I mean. So it's really that's one in the middle, and it's a really nice setting if I recall. Maybe they changed it, but the whole Mount Horeb scene is this is cool. It's a cool visit. So even at the end of the day, if y'all just visit, check that place out. It's really nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
The last one I've got is another one on Saturday, September 10th. It's a little later in the day, but I guess you could still consider it day drinking. So it's the Great Lakes Brew Fest. It's from 3 to 6:30 at Celebration Place at Harbor Park in Kenosha. Yeah, Kenosha.
All right.
Unlimited sampling of more than 300 craft beers. So, yeah. Ciders, hard sodas from nearly 70 breweries on the beautiful shore of Lake Michigan. And then you get a souvenir tasting glass with that. The Gold Pass, I'm not sure what the Gold Pass gets you, but it must be pretty nice. It's $80. And then general admission is $50 in advance, $55 at the door.
Yeah, and unlimited. So I'm seeing here 300 craft beers and 70 breweries. That's a lot, Landon. That's a big festival there.
Yeah, you could tie one on pretty easily at that place.
And I wonder how they do the week after. Are y'all always the week after a Great Taste? And I wonder how any beer event would do after the Great Taste, given that we got 10,000 people coming from everywhere going there. So that's a lot of people, even on the scale of Wisconsin. So you got to think that if you're going to Great Taste and you're going to this one, you're down with your beer. You're loving it, and you should. But But yeah, that sounds to be very a big feat to try. I would try it, but I'm not going to. But actually, or no, is that no? I'm sorry, that's not the week after September 10th. There's some. Okay, my bad. It's not this weekend. My bad. Totally. That gives you enough time. You could go to both easy.
Well, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you should be well recovered by then.
Yeah, and September 10th is that's we're literally in the middle of Oktoberfest season, which I kind of want to talk about now because we are officially waiting for Chris to chime in here.
Well,
And
let's do it.
all right, so yeah, here y'all. Here's an impromptu beer PSA. So, little plug here is that I do Twitter Spaces every Thursday with our friend Carla Lauder. I'm the main beer babe. 8 p.m. Central Time. If y'all want to jump over on Twitter, if you follow me, you'll get you'll get the alerts. But Carla and I had talked about, and we're going to talk about. Hey, Chris is here. Chris, you're gonna have to wait a little bit because we started an impromptu conversation. Actually, you could jump in, but let me set it up real quick. Um, we then talk about how is, and I will talk about it more because we're gonna have a little bit more Oktoberfest conversation for y'all. Probably talk about some beers, but is it too early for Oktoberfest and pumpkin in your view?
Me, no. I'm drinking Oktoberfest right now. Does it when it first started coming out in July? Did I think, whoa, wait, I'm not ready for this yet? Yeah, I did. But as everything is already changed, I mean, Summer Shandy comes out in the winter. It's snowing. Nobody was ready for it, but everybody's done with winter by the time February or whenever the heck it comes out. End of February, I think. Everybody's already done with winter. So we've already transitioned into having summer spring beers so early that by the time you get to July, you're kind of summered out as far as beer goes already. So palate wise, I'm at least ready for something a little more maltier, even though we may be going through 100-degree temperatures and the humidity is 100%. You're sweating
Right.
your ass off.
Oh,
But on those days where you're not sweating, Oktoberfest actually goes down pretty good. And it'll surprise nobody that's watched this show before. I've already had my first pumpkin beer of the season. So, and I'll probably have many, many more of those as we go right into Christmas,
yeah, but you're like one of the three people that would literally drink pumpkin beers all year.
That's
One
true.
of
That's
three.
true. I
Three
stockpile
of
them,
you
so
out there.
I can drink them all year round.
There's three of you out there. So it actually looks like Chris. I'm gonna save my Oktoberfest opinions for next year when we should be talking about it because it's gonna be Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
But I guess I slid in a little commentary there
Well,
with that
it's good. It's good for
comment.
Twitter. If you're going to be talking about Oktoberfest on Twitter Spaces, it's good for people to go over there and listen to that.
Absolutely. So it looks like Chris here. Chris, he's chiming in here. Chris.
Hey guys.
Hey, Chris.
You sound better there than you do at home. You sound better there than you do at home.
So let me just do a little scene setting here. I'm at Third Space Brewing. We just wrapped up 2 hours of Wisconsin IPA. Can you guys hear me okay? Is everything cool there?
Yeah, that's great.
Great.
We just wrapped up 2 hours of grueling IPA, Wisconsin IPA Fest judging. We did the first round, and I'm actually here with Kevin Wright.
How's it going?
Third Space
Kevin.
who was the master of ceremonies for tonight's, and I'm gonna let him be the on-camera guy. And we're out on. By the way, we're out on the beautiful Third Space patio.
Looks like a great night
this year. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And so what did I miss on the whole?
We had
like,
some events. That's it. That's it. We had some good events going on, Chris. Everybody's
Okay.
happy to be
Yeah.
backing out. And
Well, the event that everybody needs to know about is Wisconsin IPA Fest, which is happening this Saturday.
Yep.
Kevin, you want to tell us about Wisconsin IPA Fest?
Yeah, this is our sixth technically, but fifth with actual people. So it's IPA Fest has been something we've done since 2017, and it's we invite all Wisconsin breweries to come to the fest, bring beers to pour for the public, but then also submit their best IPA, the one that they feel is the best, into a competition, which is what we are doing tonight. And we whittle it down, and then we crown the best IPA in Wisconsin from the competition. And then the event on Saturday is a big event open to the public. We've got 50 different breweries pouring beer here, and there'll be a lot of great beers, including all the beers that were in the competition, plus more. So we got it down tonight to a top 6 finalists, and then Friday night, all of the brewers have one brewery representative as their finals judge that will then select the top 3 from those 6 finalists.
So talk a little bit about what happened. So, hi, hello. Talk a little bit about what happened tonight and how that worked and why I am. Not my full faculties.
You only had like 22 different
Only
samples
24
of,
beers. Yeah. Okay.
of IPA. No, so tonight were the first 3 rounds. So we started with 48 beers in the competition, and it was basically like a head-to-head style where there'd be 4 beers each round. 2 would advance on to the next round, and 2 would not. So we went from 48 to 24 to 12 to the final 6. And it was judged by a combination of BJCP, which is Beer Judge Certification Program, certified judges, and then some select few beer savvy guests, such as this guy. And the beers were evaluated. So it's all types of IPA is open in the competition. So usually in beer competitions you have all one type of beer. So all hazy IPAs, they'd all be competing against each other, and they'd pick the best hazy IPA. But for this competition, it's a little different. People can submit any type of IPA. And so any given round, you might have a hazy IPA going against an American IPA, going against an English IPA, going against Imperial IPA. And so the judges really had to tune in on one, technical quality. So any beer that didn't meet the technical quality standards would get eliminated. But then after that, it was really focusing on the hop character for the style and the overall enjoyment of the beer. And that's how they selected the ones that moved on.
And I'll just say, hi, hello. Like going round by round was interesting because, we had 3 rounds in the first round, or 3 flights, and then 2 in the second and 1 in the last. And so it was interesting to see like what made it to each point. Like, I'm guessing there was only 1 English IPA in the whole entry, or was there more?
No, there were a couple.
There were a
yeah,
couple.
There
Okay.
were a couple.
Because we had one that we had that our group had in the second, and it was like really spot on for an English IPA, but like we had to think about like, okay, this is Wisconsin IPA Festival. Like there are 40 hazy IPAs probably in this field or something. Like, are we really going to put an English IPA as like the number, like the judge's choice for this festival? We thought about that, and like I only came across 1 experimental IPA too, and it was clearly like cotton candy or something. Yeah, I know you're going to keep a stone face about that, but we were like, what? Like it's totally different from the other 3 that we had in our panel, which was like I think we had 2 hazes and maybe an imperial. So I don't know. It's not easy.
No, it's not.
This you've been doing this for years.
Well, I will say that in the finals there is a mix. It's not 6 hazy IPAs that made it. There is an English IPA in the finals.
We made it.
So
all right,
there's an English IPA in the finals. It's a combination of American, hazy. I think there's Imperial and English. So we got a good variety, and I think that shows the caliber of the judges involved in being able to say, okay, these are two different styles, but you're really starts with technical quality. So all the beers in the finals are all technically great beers, and then it really comes down to.
I'll say those first rounds were sometimes you just have one sip and you're like, okay, yeah. And it's great. One other thing I'll say.
24 beer.
when you're I don't think a lot of our audience probably has done like blind judging. It is weird, dude. Like, I love IPAs, and the first time I came into this festival and did the blind tasting and the judging, I was like, I do not actually like IPAs. What the hell? And because when you strip away the context of the beer, which is the brewery, maybe you like that brewery, maybe you like that style, whatever it is. Like, if you like hazy IPAs, okay, but we knew that. But there can be a lot of factors that contribute to your brain saying, yes, this is the thing that I want, and that are not really just focused on the beer. And especially when you're around, like when it was, previously we had done this with brewers and like people in the industry, and I think it was a little bit more like, just a little bit like maybe loosey-gooseier, whereas these are BJCP judges, and they're like kind of business time, and like it was very much okay, well, did you miss that oxidation in the finish? And I'm like, I guess I did. Yeah, okay. Or a little acetic note in the aroma, so like there's a detailed kind of level of analysis and tasting that I to be honest, like when I'm tasting, you're like I know it's a totally different thing.
Yeah.
But that I really appreciate it, and like I was deferring a lot. But at the same time, like I feel like I'm bringing the perspective of like, listen, we're gonna be out there, out in this courtyard right here. We're gonna be right here, and there's gonna be hundreds of people wanting this beer. What are they gonna want in that beer? They're gonna want hop expression. They're going to want it to be balanced. They're going to want it to be drinkable. And to the degree that we can tell that in a short pour, which is necessary because obviously, look at me. Anyway, so all of this is kind of, it's really complicated. And I think this is a really smart way to go, is kind of like have this be, because last time it was like, there's a lot of beer drunk. And it was the same day, right?
It was a shit show last time.
It was there.
That's why we switched it up. So this is the first year we had this preliminary round with BJCP judges. One, because we wanted to bring another kind of level to the judging, and then it was a lot to corral 45 half-drunk brewers to go through 4 rounds of judging in one night, and it would take us 4 hours, 5 hours to do it, whereas this was a clean 2 hours, and we're down to 6 finalists, so it was good.
Nice.
Very good. Okay, what else do we need to know about the event on Saturday?
IPA Fest, we still have tickets available. It is VIP starts at 1, general admission starts at 2. It is here, or I think maybe they both start at 1, but it's here at Third Space on Saturday, 20th, this weekend. 50 different breweries, all pouring beers. Everybody was required to bring 2 different types of IPAs for IPA Fest, including one of the beer that was in the competition.
But there's a bunch that are bringing a lot more.
Yes,
right?
and then they could bring
like
other
literally
things.
Well north of 100 beers. North of 100 beers pouring.
Every brewery had to commit to 3 beers, 2 of which were IPAs, and 1 of which couldn't be an IPA. So there's a variety there. So
okay.
At least 150 different beers poured. Probably closer to 200.
One of which could not be
not be an IPA because we wanted variety.
Oh, okay.
So there'll be other beers. There's also, we have a We call it the Lighted Up Lounge, which is a little secret, not really secret, but area where we're just pouring lagers. We got 4 different lagers from Third Space we'll be pouring in there. So the Lighted Up Lounge, you got to find it. It's in the middle. You'll find it. It's not hard.
Nice.
But it's we did this event last year. Was the first time we did it in this format. It was a lot of fun, and we're excited.
That's awesome.
Does the winner get a belt?
Okay, so I'm gonna there we go.
Does the winner get a belt, Chris?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
What I get. Thanks for the invite. Thanks
Chris
for
isn't
all this.
listening.
Thanks for making this happen.
Can y'all hear me?
During Badger Beer Hour, that's wild.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay, awesome.
Can y'all hear me?
Sweet.
Hello?
Good luck on Saturday.
hear you.
Wait, you guys have any questions or anything? Or are you?
Yeah, can you hear us? No? Greg's got a question.
Can you
Greg's
hear
got a
us?
question. Okay.
Yeah. Greg wants to know if you get a belt.
The winner. Does the winner get a belt?
It's not a belt. It's a traveling trophy. It's kind of like the Stanley Cup. So we put the name of the winner every year on the base. So right now there's 5 nameplates on it, and there'll be a 6th one from this year.
Is it sanitary to drink out of that?
It's actually a mini fermenter that was made by the company that built all our brewing equipment. And the first year I contacted, I'm like, I need you to sponsor IPA Fest, but I don't need any money. I just need you to build me a miniature fermenter that we could use as a trophy. So it's like a little baby fermenter. It's a pretty sweet trophy.
But it's pretty. I mean, that's a big. As far as the drinking vessel goes.
It's sealed though. You can't get in it unless, if you flipped it upside down. I guess you can maybe drink out of it. So
does it go to each brewer? Or do y'all keep it?
No, we don't keep it. So we'll keep it for a couple days. We got to take it over to the trophy shop, get the new winner put on it, and then we bring it to their brewery, and they get to display it for the year. So the last year it's been over at Raised Grain. They were the 2021.
That's excellent.
What was their beer?
The beer they did last year was called Forsaken, which was like 4 hop blend hazy IPA. Really awesome beer. And so yeah, they won. They had the trophy for the last year, but now we got it back, and we are just waiting for Saturday.
Love it. Okay.
We'll get the nameplate, bring it over to their brewery, and they'll get to display it for a year.
Awesome.
So the prize is as cool as the event sounds. Good luck, y'all.
Yeah, it's a cool trophy to put up on your wall.
Yeah, and it's bragging rights for a year. It's great. I love it.
For sure.
I love it. Kevin, that sounds awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Kevin.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
Hopefully, I'll see you.
Chris, nice. How you feeling?
Okay.
How you feeling?
Everything's fine. What are you talking about?
He's feeling great. He's on cloud 9. He's good. Uh-oh.
Well,
Where'd you go, Chris?
You introduce our friendly guests, and then Lyndon and I, or Lyndon, you want to stay on?
Yeah, hang on.
You can take me off. Just wait for Chris to turn his camera back on.
Yeah, that's usually helpful. Right. I asked the man if he was fine, and then he disappears. Like,
he put his microphone on, and then he disappeared.
Right. And now he's
it's good. I just need to. I got a little thing here going here. All right, hold on.
There we go.
So Chris is going to come back here, y'all, and he's going to interview Youngblood's Tom Dufek. I hope I got that name right. But if I didn't, he will tell me. But Youngblood is a new. I keep saying new because they've been here for now. What is it? 4 years. It just feels like they're new landing on the scene, but they're clearly on the Madison scene, making moves. It feels like almost monthly. They have some great beers. They do great styles. They do I think they call it a California Common, Landon. Yeah, and that's not one that you see everywhere. They do a bunch of sours. They do a bunch of nice IPAs. They do a bunch of nice I was gonna say young. That's funny. Low ABV lagers that are just fucking straight up drinkable. You can just have like 4 of them in their pub.
Yeah.
The food is on point, Landon. They don't have a big menu, but what they make The food that they do make is fantastic, and I don't want to ruin everything. What is going on, Chris?
There.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we're all ready. We're all set. I got
cool,
my device in. Everything's cool. I can hear everything now.
Awesome.
It's good.
All right. I think I set you up nicely as far as talking about Youngblood. The vibe that I get from them is they are I still think they're up and coming in the scene. I still think a lot of people don't know them as much. They're not, people cite Working Draft and of course Ale Asylum, and they cite all these other Madison breweries, but Youngblood is usually, Octopi, Wisconsin Brewing. I mean, everybody gets cited before Youngblood, but Youngblood deserves it. We're getting some background feedback from you, buddy.
For me?
No, it's just the rowdy people behind you. Otherwise you're good.
Yeah, I can. Let me try to. I'll find another spot here.
Cool.
I'm kind of like moving around, trying to find a good quiet spot.
Youngblood. One of the reasons why Youngblood is here talking with us this month, y'all, is because they are doing some expansion, which I am very, very interested in hearing. And the footprint, Landon, is really close to where the old Ale Asylum is going to be.
Okay.
So I'm pretty sure maybe they knew, and Chris could get into the guts of that story. Maybe they knew about Ale Asylum going away. Maybe they didn't, but they're literally right up the street from the old Ale Asylum. So I know. Well,
sorry, you guys totally fell over. All right.
Wow.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
I can't even talk. What the hell? Anyway, Landon.
We're very professional here.
While everyone will acknowledge, Chris, I'm going to take you off for a little bit because you're a fucking distraction. When I see Chris bump back on, I'll let him up again. But
he'll get it figured out.
Yeah, he'll get it figured out. But no one's saying that anybody's ever going to replace Ale Asylum.
No.
But this little place that I think Youngblood is working on is going to be a partial fix, if that makes sense, or someplace up in this area where we can get good beer. I'm not sure the capacity. I'm not sure any of this. So that's what Chris is going to get into, and I'm excited for all the details here. It looks like Chris is getting pretty much set up, so we're going to bump him back on now and see where he's at. We didn't do a live show this year, so this is like our live show, and I love it. Now we can't hear you.
Now you got to turn your audio on, Chris.
Yeah. And our guest is loving it in the green room. Y'all can't see him, but he's having a good time with this as much as we are.
I was strongly considering doing this on the road sometime, but I don't know if I'm going to do that anymore. So
yes, oh my goodness, you have to. I love the impromptu. Hey man, if this was like audio, as this is recorded, as you know, none of this would be acceptable. But the fact that we are doing it live, this makes it fun. And we knew that. I don't know, Chris. The way Chris was in charge of our layout tonight because of the logistics and the timing and everything. So when Chris laid out what he thought we were going to work on, I was like, this is going to be something. Chris said loose.
We still can't hear you, Chris.
Right. Still can't hear you, Chris. Nope, can't hear you. So yeah, Youngblood, making moves. Been around here for a while though. And Chris just left. I'm just happy that we have Tom here, but we're gonna wait so Chris will get his things together before we even comment. But
maybe we shouldn't have had him move. Maybe that screwed everything up. He was good. He was good where he was. We could just hear the rowdy people in the back.
You don't want to know where I am when we're doing our Twitter Spaces, which happens every fourth Wednesday on Twitter Spaces. Simon, Chris, and I go over there and talk, but it's audio. So it's basically, I can be doing anything here without, y'all seeing me, which is a luxury, Simon. I think I've heard you flush the toilet once or twice. Well, listen, what else could it be though, Landon? Come on now.
I don't know. You free your mind and think, you know. I mean, the
Right.
first thing that came to my mind was yeah.
Let's see here. Do we have audio?
I hear him.
Am I on?
You're on, Chris.
Hey! All right. Well, we are going to introduce our guest, or if you want to introduce him. And Landon said he wants to be out of here, so we'll see you in a bit, Landon. And we'll see. Chris, you want
to let's roll.
Do the intro?
Do I have
an intro? He's here. Do you have an intro, sir?
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah. So this is what we're talking right now to Tom Dufek, who is the one of the co-founders of Youngblood Brewing, and Greg gave a nice introduction to them. One thing, founded in 2020, May 2020. So interesting time to come into being as a brewery, and they're coming on, Tom is coming on to talk about a new venture from Youngblood Brewing called Saturday Beer Company, which is launching like right now in mainly the Madison area. We'll be talking about that. Tom, what's up?
What's up? I'm drinking it too. So
there you go. Okay,
so I had to.
I just gotta apologize for being kind of a half shit show already. But
you've seen our brewery's like brew schedule. We are like we are totally cool with shit shows. So don't you worry about that.
That's right. I think I wrote in the all right. So let's talk about that, like, because this is kind of one of the central themes to Saturday Beer Company is totally. like the calm from the storm of Youngblood Brewing. So give us kind of the elevator pitch of what Saturday Beer Company is about and why this is all happening.
Yeah, for sure. So we call Saturday boring beer for cool people. So right, like we want it to be simple. We want it to be unfussy. It's 3 core brands. We make a hazy IPA called Lawn Lines. We make a American style wheat called Impromptu Pool Party. And then we make an unfiltered Pilsner called Special Pilsner. And that's it. We're going to bring in some sours seasonally, but just one that rotates in with each season. Whereas so that's like 7 beers over the year. Youngblood is like 7 beers in 2 weeks, basically. So we wanted something that was a little more stable, a little bit more, if you really like that beer, you could come back to it. Whereas like some of the fun of Youngblood is we never make it. So you kind of get your hands on it when you get your hands on it. And, you hopefully know and like the beers that we make and trust us enough that you're going to like it, even though you've never had it. So whereas Saturday is like this thing that sticks around more is a little bit more consistent.
Okay. So, I mean, like, just to kind of drive home that point, like 3 beers is like a day at Youngblood. I mean, I did the math. I kind of added up some, I just went on Tapped, but y'all have put out 340 beers.
Yep.
340 beers since opening in May 2020.
Yeah, exactly. That's
so, and like, can you talk a little bit about like what kind of a challenge that presents to the like selling beer? I mean, like, that works great in the taproom setting, and which was the model, and that was the plan for Youngblood.
Yep.
That was completely disrupted by COVID. So, just kind of like, what is appealing about that kind of stability?
Well, so I mean, for Youngblood, like you said, we had planned to just be a tap room, and we were going to maybe release some beer in kegs. We never really planned to distribute in cans anything the way that we're doing. And when we opened, we literally couldn't open our doors. So like we had to put beer in package and sell it that way because we opened, right in the height of COVID. It was really crazy then. So. And that has been, so we wanted to keep that, right? We wanted to like keep the the ethos of that tap room, kind of ever changing style. We didn't want to lose that, because like all three of us, that was really what we were all about. And we felt like if we went away from that, it would really it would just be very different than what we wanted. But yeah, it is really like when it was self-distro, it was, still kind of crazy, but we had a little control over it. As we grew, we signed on with some distributors, and trying to get them to understand what we were doing, we had to kind of almost break it down into these are our fruit punch sours, these are our Kyle beers, these are our pastry sours, and kind of categorize things. So that was because it's chaos. I mean, it's controlled chaos is really what it is. And it's fun, keeps it interesting. You literally always know there's going to be something new. We are starting to rebrew things. There's a couple things. Actually, you guys were talking about IPA Fest. Our entry into IPA Fest was a beer that we rebrewed from I think our third or fourth week. So we're starting to bring some of that stuff back, and I think it's because Kyle's just yo, I made all these really good recipes. We only made them once.
I know I said that there were endless iterations of IPA.
Yeah.
In 2020, but 2 years in, I'm a little tired. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
well, and I mean, and it's not. I mean, obviously, it's not just on the supply side, but people ask for favorites all the time, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. We get there is this one guy who he would ask us all the time about this one particular sour we made, and then he would start checking other beers into Untapped and be like, it's not as good as Rufio, but it's still pretty good. And this is 4 or 5 beers that he references this one beer, which we just released that one, and I have to find his info and be yo, we remade it for you. But yeah, we get hit up. I mean, I literally have a template in my email that is where can I get this beer? And it's my stock response, because usually it's a beer from 3 months ago that we is no longer around or something like that.
So, all right. So anyway, that's a lot about Youngblood. Let's talk about Saturday. What are you mentioned the styles? What how did you decide what those beers were going to be? Kind of bring us through the process of that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we view Saturday as a very American style beer company. So all of the beers that we wanted to do are kind of American takes on the style. So, hazy IPA, it's not an English IPA. It's not even a West Coast, right? We kind of wanted to keep that, that American style IPA in there. And then we also, with the wheat ale, it's a wheat ale, or an American wheat ale. So it's not like a wit beer or anything like that, right? So we wanted to kind of keep that American kind of craft tradition. We wanted to keep that to Saturday. We, saisons and, all the European, French, German styles that Kyle likes to brew. We'll keep that with Youngblood. But, we wanted things that were sessionable. So 6% ABV is the highest ABV of any of the beers. They're in 12-ounce cans, so it's, we wanted things that were easy to, sip and, or have a couple at dinner or something like that. So we really wanted to do something that was approachable to the average consumer, because, as much fun as we have with Youngblood, I think the reality is that there are certain consumers that it's not approachable for. So it was really important for us to make it, lower in ABV, lower in price point, 12-ounce cans instead of the 16, and stuff people were familiar with, which is, why we went with the everybody drinks Pilsners, everybody drinks IPAs. And then, Oberon's still probably one of my favorite seasonals that it feels like I see.
Oberon, you actually said the word this time.
Yeah, I know. You said it in your article. I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna say it, But I love that beer, and it's when I see that on the shelves, I'm like, good weather's coming. And it's great for Wisconsinites. So I think having that summer, crusher sort of thing is that's the style that we want.
So one of the things that I was curious about, kind of more traditional beers, and I think this kind of like that point of American takes on, class, kind of classic-ish styles, but like American classics. So these are like beers of the craft era. It's not like we're going back to like English IPA or
Yep.
which is something that like I asked about there was a common that you guys did I think it was last summer, or like some ESBs, like some kind of traditional, like I think this falls in the bucket of Kyle beers.
Yes, 100%.
And that's and Kyle being Kyle Gregorash, your head brewer,
Yep.
and co-founder, who's like has I think like a very specific like he came from Hacienda where he kind of created a really clear terroir of like what he wanted to do with saisons and hazy IPAs, and it's different as those things are, but also like like when I saw a common like an English common and an ESB from Youngblood, I was like that, like I understand that, but those are not the beers that are going into like, and I guess this is the point, is that Saturday is intended to be static and kind of a respite from the kind of intentional turbulence of the Youngblood brand, right?
Yeah, exactly. And for us too, we even took some kind of like in the brand work, the labels and stuff like that. It's like big swaths of color. It's got this kind of almost retro font and kind of vibe to it. We're obsessed with vibes, as you know. And so we wanted to like make sure that like we've got this kind of like I don't know. We wanted it to be a thing that was unfussy and uncomplicated. We wanted the branding to match that. We wanted the beers to be the same thing. We obviously want them to be craft in nature, but we didn't want them to be esoteric. We didn't want it to be, have ingredients people were unfamiliar with. I mean, even the IPA, it's got Mosaic, right, which is one of the more popular hops these days, right? So we wanted it to have things that were people were familiar with and could kind of latch onto, in that kind of American style of craft brewing.
Yeah. And like, I mean, to your point about vibes, like Saturday, I don't know how Saturday Beer Company wasn't a thing already, but nice job.
I know.
But like that is like kind of like Lawnmower beers, like the names of these beers are not like, American wheat ale, and I mean, like they kind of have this like oh yeah, I just want to relax and have Saturday's the best day.
Exactly. I think somebody was writing some copy or something for it, and it was like a good Saturday is a terrible thing to waste. I was like, yeah, like Saturday is the best day of the week, right? Like you still have one more day before you have to go back to work. Generally don't have to work all day, right? It is the best day. And we've even got like the little like lawn chair on the can, because we want that to be the whole,
give us a good kind of like tour of that like, so there's you got that kind of like retro font there.
Yep. And then
which is like all again different from the kind of like of the bells and whistles of Youngblood too.
Exactly. And we wanted to have it, beer. Well, there we are. And all the cans are like this, right? So the Pilsner is red with, yellow striping. The wheat beer is like a kind of gold color with blue striping. But, they're immediately hopefully recognizable as a beer. But it I think some packaging can get a little crazy, a little wild, and especially with Youngblood's a great example. Billy, our other partner, other founder, he has like some doodles and like he's got like these spray paint like kind of things that he does, and we started slapping them on our cans, and they're great, but they're busy. There's a lot going on, and for this, we really wanted to make sure that again, it was Saturdays about relaxation. It's about sitting in the lawn chair. It's about having a beer after you mow the lawn, right? Like those sorts of things. So we wanted, everything to kind of match that, relaxed nature.
So, like, dude, you're 2 years in, you've got like a new brewery, you've got a new tap room, you've got a new brand. Like, there's a lot going on with Youngblood right now. I mean, like how, like, just you talk about like what's happening there, and I guess maybe like what the expectations are for this. Like, is this or I guess like, I mean, we've talked about some of the why already, but like, how does this fit into like the whole, like the big picture of what you want Youngblood Beer Company? And this is like one of the things that you mentioned to me when we talked about this earlier for the story was that this is like, you're not running from this, like Youngblood is not running away from this affiliation or trying to hide it in any way.
Yep.
It's like, this is a Youngblood beer. This is made by Youngblood Beer Company, but this is just in a way that makes a little bit more sense for what these beers are. So kind of like, can you kind of give me like the big picture of like what's going on with Youngblood right now and how Saturday kind of fits into that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's funny because none of this was part of our plan, right? We were going to have a tap room. If that went well, we'd have another tap room, and if that went really well, we'd maybe have a third or something like that. And that was what we were going to do. But so the pandemic really kind of forced our hand, but it also like it showed us where there was some opportunity. And I think, in Madison there was a lot of opportunity to do this kind of all these crazy styles and like, never brew the same thing. Nobody in Madison was doing that. And whether that's a good or a bad thing, I don't know, but nobody was doing it. So it kind of, we saw that there was an opportunity for that. We had to put beer in cans. So that just kind of grew, and it grew naturally, and it grew, it was great. I mean, it worked out really well for us, and it was a good kind of pivot, but it was nothing, it wasn't what we planned. And our brewery on King Street where we're at is literally in the basement. So like that works really well.
Not made for this, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Not cans. We would literally truck wort over, pump it into the tanks. We'd ferment there. Then when it was ready, we'd put it in half barrels. We'd fill the half barrels up, drag them out of the basement. We'd take them over to Carbon 4. They'd pump it into their bright tanks. They'd can for us. We'd bring it back downstairs. It was just all these planes, trains, and automobiles. And to kind of keep doing what we're doing in that facility was impossible. So we got a facility on the east side of Madison. It's like 7,000 square feet. It's big enough for us to grow into, but we had more room and more time to play with things. And with Youngblood, like I kind of mentioned before, there's this whole segment of the beer drinking industry that we're not really hitting. It's not like there isn't like there's this big swath of people that are like, I don't like fruited sours, or like, I just want that thing that I know I can keep going back to. Or I had a buddy who was like, I want to put Youngblood on our menu at the bar concept he was running. And he was like, but I need it to be around for 3 months. What do you have? And I was just like, nothing. we basically don't have anything. So we realized that there was like a lot of people that we weren't really able to get the beer to. And, we had the extra space, we had the capacity. So it felt really natural to just kind of bring this on and say, yeah, this is a Youngblood, thing, this is a Youngblood project, but it's totally different from, Youngblood. So it didn't really make sense to have it Youngblood branded. So we really see the brands kind of living together. And I think there's, a lot of room, for this sort of thing. You mentioned the new tap room, that's very close to, I think somebody mentioned Alesound before. We're kind of in that neighborhood. So there's like, a lot of different opportunities within the Madison, industry and market to like do stuff like this with this brand. And, yeah, I mean, but it didn't fit under Youngblood. It just didn't feel, we didn't want to do Youngblood light, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we really wanted to create something that could kind of live on its own.
I mean, I really want to wrap this up. Greg's like yelling at me to do the news. But there is, I mean, like there is a little bit of a precedent in Youngblood, and you can see this thread starting with the beer that's now called bathtub beer, shower beer. You guys started making Hellas, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That was like, okay, we're gonna have this beer to kind of like give these I think like accounts, whether it be retail or bar, restaurant, like if they want to have a Youngblood beer on, which like is a thing because Youngblood's a hot brand, but like they don't want to like they don't want to go from a marshmallow, something porter. I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
But he made it because he made like all these beers. To a double dry hopped double IPA with Eldorado the next day. There's something different that like when you're running a business that's built on like kind of there's a lot of predictability and all this stuff is a benefit, and we saw that with shower beer, bathtub beer, where it's like, okay, we gotta have something where it's like a little more stable, and I think that kind of like, I don't know, this is not a question, I'm sorry.
No. Honestly, where bathtub beer came from was our bar manager was like, I want something light that like dads can drink when their kids drag them into the tap room. And we were like, cool, we'll make this lager that's always around. And then our distributor heard about it and they were like, what about that? Can we get more of that? And so it's kind of, right. But yeah, it's a thing that we want to, Youngblood is about what's new, what's different. Saturday kind of is that thing that can be more constant.
Awesome. Like it's happening now, like this week, right?
Yeah, we launched, it started shipping to the stores on Tuesday. So Madison only for now. We just got to kind of figure out, we don't want to bite off more than we can chew. At some point, we'll get down to the Milwaukee area. But it's, a bunch of different locations in Madison this week.
They sound like good floaty beers, which I'm not. I gave up my bathtub pool or my driveway pool, but it sounds like good beer with floating.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Tom, thanks so much for coming on. Sorry for the whole rigmarole and getting us all started here, but now we're stable. Now we got it. We figured it out. Thanks for coming on, and
thanks for having us.
Youngblood and Saturday.
Cool. We'll see ya.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Landon. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
You're probably terrified of this segment.
No, you're rallying. It's good. It's good.
Good for glad everybody's happy with it.
So we got a little bit of news. Let's talk about Ale Asylum.
Okay, we got two big stories, and there's a bunch of little stories that we just didn't have time for today because of all the other stuff going on. So okay, Ale Asylum, that's a big one. So this is kind of old news at this point, but it broke like 2 days after our last show, so we got to talk about it. Balls, Ale Asylum, it's closing. The buyer did not come through, honestly, nobody really knows what's going to happen right now. So it is going, like the worst case scenario that we had talked about last summer is happening now, where, there are buyers that are in kind of auction, liquidation mode that are going to be buying the different pieces of this business. The pieces of this business are that brewery. Although they don't own that, they will not own that brewery. They'll be taking over a lease for it, is my understanding. But all that equipment in there, all the brewing stuff, is Ale Asylum, so they can sell all that. The big thing that everybody, it's easy to talk about like this as like this is the business impact of all this. I do not want to lose sight of the human impact of this. There are a lot of good people who worked at Ale Asylum who are now figuring out what the hell they're going to do. Well, it's been almost a month now, but or probably actually for them probably even a little bit longer, because I think the writing on this wall has been up there for a while for the people internally. But so like that's a big thing, and not to be understated, because the kitchen, this is a big brewery with a kitchen and a lot of brewing staff. So what's going to happen to them is definitely a part of this. Obviously wish everybody well. As far as I think the thing that most people want to talk about is the beer. And there are very few scenarios in whatever happens next where I can envision where I can't envision. It's hard to imagine a scenario where Ale Sound beer does not exist in the future.
Right.
In some, I mean, like obviously you're not. I don't expect that we'll have the full slate of everything, and if you have a niche beer that they made that was not kind of in the regular rotation, I'd be a little worried about that. But I mean, I can't imagine Hopalicious not becoming a thing that is brewed elsewhere. And one of the things that Otto told me in our our last conversation, our previous conversation, not our last conversation, I would imagine, is that they are working really hard with the brewing staff that they have to make sure that to find the right buyer. And to them, that means ensuring that the quality remains. The brewing staff will be working with whoever buys this brand and the recipes to ensure that it's made the right way, and that people, because that's beneficial to the buyer. Obviously, it's beneficial to the seller, the Ale Salem, and they know that this beer is an emotional thing, and they want that emotional need to be met by all of us who are going to be missing Ale Sound beers. So
Sure.
So that's I think that's kind of my big takeaway from that. We talked a lot about on the last Badger Beer Happy Hour with Simon and Greg out on Twitter Spaces, and if you scroll through my my Twitter feed long enough, I think you'll find that about, like, we had Barry Adams, the reporter from the State Journal, on to talk about what his take on it. I think that was really insightful. If you want to hear more about that story, you should go back. It'll take a while to get through all my stupid tweets, but you can find it eventually. And it was a really good. Greg, that as I recall, that was about a Badger Beer Happy Hour and a half at least.
Well, that's usually what we what we run here. So
I think we're staring that down here too. So Ale Salem is essentially no more.
Right.
But the future of that brand, I can't imagine it goes away. I mean, they were selling something like 10,000 barrels a year plus. Last year in a really weird year. So. That's a the speculation of who that might be,
right,
is who that buyer might be is interesting. Maybe it's even made in the same facility, because I don't know, speculate away, but I don't know. I'll just say this: if I were handicapping, I'd probably put Wisconsin Brewing, and this is not based on any information. This is just based on my reading the market and, kind of the history of all these brands. Wisconsin Brewing, like they're brewing Lake Louie now.
Yep.
Basically, they bought Tom Porter into soft retirement. I don't think he's actually retired yet. But, there's a history of them kind of accommodating local brands, and I would not be surprised at all if that's the next one. I would also not be surprised if that is not where this brand ends up. So we'll see.
Okay. We'll stay tuned for that. We'll have more news as it happens.
Ale Salem is never going away from the news segment of this show.
That's right. Yeah. So we've got a little news about MKE.
Yeah, not a little news. Holy crap, this is a big one. Okay, so, so the Milwaukee Ale House is closing.
Yep.
This broke yesterday, or Monday.
Yep.
Monday. Boy, this is a tough one because they're going to close on September 11th. That is going to be just a little less than a month short of 25th anniversary. So think about, like, turn the clock back on craft beer in Wisconsin, 25 years. And that is a big freaking deal. Big bummer. And they're so the new the you know the news is that they're looking for a new location. The lease was up on this. The lease was up on their space. This is okay. All right. So let's step back. Some details. Milwaukee Ale House in the third ward of Milwaukee, right on the Milwaukee, or is it the Milwaukee River? Yeah, it is. Milwaukee River. Just a great spot. Probably one, like if you've been to Milwaukee and had beer in the last 20 years, it's a good chance you went to the ale house at some point. And the parent company is Milwaukee Brewing Company, which we know Louis Demise, MKE IPA, OG, their Imperial Vit beer, all kinds of beers over the years, and Outboard was a nice cream ale. I'm not super optimistic that this is going to happen, and here's why. In 2018, Milwaukee Brewing Company, the parent company of the Ale House, opened a big new brewery on the kind of near the as in the old Pabst complex, just northwest of downtown, and in spring they said that the company was for sale. They said that the lease. So this is all basically what we know of this so far is basically from Facebook posts saying that the ale house is going to close on September 11th, and everything is. Want to be clear, everything is full go till then. So if you got a reservation tomorrow night, you should still go. They're talking about kind of throwback prices, which I would assume means blowing out some kegs, but the context of this, and that they're looking for a new location. So the context of this is that this lease came up, and they said that they were unable to renew the lease at the terms that the landlord wanted. They're in the first floor of not exactly a high-rise building, but a big riverfront building downtown in the third ward, like a block away from the block and a half to maybe 2 blocks away from the public market. It was like, this is an area that has you can see the rents rising, right? And so the context of this company being up for sale in spring, combined with the fact that they had been doing they opened this big new brewery, 43,000 square feet, which is huge. Tom mentioned that the new Youngblood brewery was 7,000 square feet, and that's I think they're doing about 2,000, maybe a little bit north of that this year, barrels.
Yep.
But then so I mean that's a big brewery. When they opened this thing, they were talking 100,000 barrels, maybe with growth and increasing the footprint, that the brand might be doing 200,000 barrels or something like that. Really, really big numbers. And in 2018, some of the headwinds were already kind of showing. So this was a pretty ambitious project even then. And obviously the pandemic was a really tough thing. Obviously the ale house specifically was all about on premise. It's a brew pub. They have to get a kitchen. So things were looking pretty dicey. So the company's up for sale, and it has been for a while. I don't know that a buyer is gonna. I don't. Who knows? I mean, that brewery is pretty state of the art. So I mean, it can do a lot of things that, and I think a pretty substantial portion of their volume was contract brewing recently. Yep. They launched hard seltzer line in I want to say 2019 or 2020. And there have been shakeups shortly after the brewery, this big new brewery opened. The founder, Jim McCabe, moved into a marketing and production role out of the CEO role. So I think that says something. it's tough to say what's going to happen. But I don't, short of some kind of angel investor from the Milwaukee brewing industry coming in and saying, hey, we really want to preserve this brand that's been really kind of hurting for a few years now, and find a new space for a brew pub. I don't know. So I think it's a serious question whether there will be any presence of Milwaukee brewing in Milwaukee in 6 months or 3 months or whatever.
Yeah.
So really tough news. And again, same as Ale Asylum, this is a pretty large operation with a lot of employees who are going to be looking for new opportunities very soon. So
right.
Thoughts out to them and thoughts out to everybody involved. Hopefully there's a good resolution here. But it really similar stories, I think. Ale Asylum built a big new brewery and had a lease that was, I think, they did not own that building, and that was, I think they signed a lease that was contingent on their making a lot of beer and selling a lot of beer, and they couldn't quite do it. So,
yep.
And I think we're seeing the same thing in a much compressed timeline. Ale Asylum opened theirs, I think it's 2013, maybe 2013. So in less than half that time for Milwaukee Brewing, but sucks talking about closings, and we've got some openings to talk about, Saturday's exciting new launch and stuff, but and it's not the only obviously there's not the only thing happening, but in a kind of a compressed timeline on our wild August show.
Well, I'm glad we saved all the depressing news for last, because it'd be a real bummer to start a show with just sad stories about breweries closing, because that's not a good way to start.
Well, I mean, it's weird, but we talked about this so much during the pandemic times, and we were kind of like everybody. We were all so impressed about how everybody was going out and supporting all these breweries, and there were not a lot of closures in that first year. I think this is the legacy of the pandemic for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of questions to be asked about the way Milwaukee Brewing handled their expansion and the decisions that they made strategically. But, they probably would have been able to ride it out if not for the pandemic. I don't know. Maybe that's bullshit, but I don't know. And same with Ale Asylum, we saw what the kind of drastic measures that they were doing with the $6 six packs. We talked about this. We talked about Ale Asylum a lot, over the this whole life of this podcast or this stream, because they started making waves with really making aggressive moves to kind of stay alive in April, with the $6 six packs and remember the fuck COVID beers. So I think we're seeing the pandemic, really come home to roost, and I guess I'm not surprised that it's the bigger brewers that are taking the biggest hits from that. The smaller ones, smaller payrolls, more nimble. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
Is that all we got for news? Depressing news for August?
You can read me right out of this depressing ass news segment.
All right, let's do last call, Greg.
Yo, Landon, what do you got going up in your neck of the woods?
I'm just looking forward to, since we zipped through summer and it doesn't seem like I really got one. Just looking forward to Oktoberfest celebrations in September.
And pumpkin beers.
Well, of course, pumpkin beers. Yeah, who doesn't look forward to that?
I when I was trying to get Kevin on and figure out a way that worked for all this, I heard you guys talking about Oktoberfest and pumpkin beers, and I'm like, oh man, dude, we gotta hurry up. Brandon's just gonna keep talking about this as long as he wants. If we don't get this on,
Man, I'm gonna do a whole segment on pumpkin beers next month.
Let's go. Let's go. Right.
I'm gonna make an animation for it and everything.
Chris, we will talk about Oktoberfest beers in some capacity next month. I'm not sure if we'll revisit what we just were talking about as Landon and I were vamping for your arrival, but y'all rolled in at the right time and everything went pretty damn well, I would have to say, for an impromptu stream like today. So good job, fellas. Thank you.
Awesome. And I don't think I glitched out at even once.
No, not once.
Home internet network, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna suggest you do the stream there every month as opposed to home. But we'll figure that out. We'll figure that out with the lady, right? Oh man, I've lost my voice. That's because I spent the weekend in Pittsburgh at Fresh Fest or Baron Flow, and it was just another great time. Just all the different collaboration beers, Chris, I enjoyed a lot. Those you can only get there or bring home. And then I saw our friend Doug for my Friday stream. We hung out for the weekend, so it was fun, man. How was the Great Taste back to its full and flexible self?
It was beautiful. It was a really good day. Just late last night, I finished editing a conversation that I had with Katie Herrera, my kind of co-columnist at the State Journal on beer, and her fiance Andrew Tater, who are both kind of like industry insiders and they were at the Taste, kind of with us. They're kind of with me a little bit. Like we hooked up early, but then very much did a separate thing. But we kind of debriefed afterward and just talked about like our impressions and favorite beers and everything. And there's so much good stuff. Like I drank a ton of sours this year, much more than kind of usual and much more than I guess I was expecting. Like you go up to a brewery and you don't really have any kind of, you're like, it's a very like at least for me, it's a very unstrategic process about like what I want to drink. And I just look at the thing, I'm like, how about that raspberry sour? That looks good. So I was doing that a lot more, and really good results, I guess, across the board with that. A lot of good sour and wild beers. I think my best to show was a Wisconsin beer, 608 Brewing's BA Cream, like Cash Rules Everything Around Me, Wu-Tang represent. Coconut rules everything around me. And it's a coconut imperial stout with 5 different like varieties of vanilla. And dude, everybody who was watching this probably knows that is not my shit. And it was so good. I mean, like one of the things I love about when beers like that work for me is when all those things kind of just gel into one flavor, and you're not tasting 5 different vanillas and an assload of coconut and a big wet imperial stout and a barrel. It's all just one thing, and that was exactly what happened with that beer. So I was super excited about that. We're gonna have to talk to Phil from 608 Brewing sometime on this show because doing great things out there. I saw one thing that Tater noted, and as soon as he said it, I was like, you know what? You're right. I was thinking very uncritically about this whole thing, and there were a lot of breweries, kind of some of the heavy hitters, especially, who were not bringing as many beers as they had in the past, and I'm sure they were bringing half barrels instead of like sixtels and stuff. So it's not like they were running out of beer, but I mean, I'm not to single anybody out, but like I was thinking about Rev and dude, they had like coconut Death Star, which is like amazing, and straight jacket, like an 18. Oh my god, they just turned off the lights on me. They had like a 2018 straight jacket, so it's not like they weren't bringing fire, but they had like 8 beers total, and 4 of them were okay. Well, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. This is city. Okay, there we go.
We can laugh. This is great.
It's great.
But
right.
4 of them were there, or 5 of them, I think, were the Freedom Lemonades or the Freedom beers. Their session sours. So it's like and that, not to single out Rev at all, but there's a lot of that. We saw it from New Holland. We saw it from dude. I mean, Goose was pouring a bunch of
Bourbon.
BCS stuff, but it was like pours. The only beer that they had on, like besides that, was like their bear hugs, beer hugs. I don't know, whatever. So they had one beer and then like a rotating thing of like mystery BCS things, which they didn't even say when it was going to be. So it's kind of hard to like get excited about that and like plan around it. So I don't know. And the like kind of the stunts and everything were a little bit more muted. Fair State had a great setup with like a dare like drug abuse resistance education. That was kind of their theme, because the beer that they had, like kind of the signature beer that they had, was their Big Doinks IPA, which is a super dank, super weedy IPA to begin with, and then they terpened it up, and oh my god, like you walk by that beer and you smelled somebody smoking a doob next to you, and no, they're just drinking this beer, and you're like, what is that? And then you go get it because it's like so unique and wild. So I don't know, I'm talking a lot. Anyway, great taste.
Well,
it was really good weather. It was kind of cool. It rained a little bit, but it was like a rain that was just like, it didn't saturate you. It just kind of cooled you off a little bit.
Nice.
So cool.
Nice.
It is the biggest Wisconsin beer event, so we need to discuss it, man. So thanks for hitting us with it. Chris, I have a quick question. There's I saw buzz around one brewery called Sway. Did you get to them?
I did not get to them, and when I heard that somebody's like, did you get to Sway? Because okay, I gotta admit, I did like very little. I did very little planning for this, like, and this is kind of my thing now, is like I go to this and just kind of walk around and talk to people and then kind of figure out a plan from what everybody's talking about. I should have done more research, because Sway is a brewery that's like they announced that they were becoming a thing this year.
Wow.
They're in Bailey's Harbor, and it's a former Hacienda / Door County brewer who branched out and is, I think he might have even been taking over their former space, like it's an old grocery store in Bailey's Harbor, and doing some of the things that Hacienda has become known for, like the wild and mixed firm stuff like that. Real small batch, real kind of small beer. So I was like, wait, somebody was talking about like Sway. I'm like, wait, not Sway, like the brand new brewery. I was really surprised that they were there. I think it's just one dude.
They got a good buzz.
So yeah, definitely big buzz on Sway. The other big like kind of buzz at the brewery at the fest was totally different direction, Dimensional, out of Dubuque, which I also like. I had not heard of them even, and I walked by this line. I'm like, holy shit! Like, what are I'm like looking at all these people. I'm like, hey, what are you waiting for? Like, why are you here? And he's like, Dimensional, dude. They're amazing. Like, just having these 2 barrel-aged beers at 2:30, and I looked at the thing, and I'm like, it's not like, what? How late is it? I looked at my watch and my phone, and it was like 2:10, like 20 minutes ahead. Like that was the line.
Wow.
Face this year was for Dimensionals. They had a barrel aged barley wine and a barrel aged imperial stout that people were signing up for way ahead of time. And you know, on a day when you could get a lot of really phenomenal beers without waiting in line. So that was kind of a throwback to old school great taste with the line there. Yeah.
All right. Well, I would have to say we had another fantastic stream show here. Chris, thank you for your diligence and being on with us today and making sure we had a nice couple interviews.
That's the first time we've had 2 live interviews in a
yes, and it felt like it was going to be chaotic, and it wasn't even remotely chaotic. Had a good time. Sometimes it's good to have those times where it's not scripted, and we can, or not scripted, but you know, we can just go off of what we've learned through doing all these. And I just want to thank you. So are you going to be down at the IPA Fest this Saturday?
It's unclear. I hope to, but
all right.
It's probably not going to be a whole day kind of deal.
All right, and Landon, you're going to have a quiet weekend. It sounds like, as will I. But if not, we will see y'all. When is it? September 19th or something like that. On the next Badger Beer Hour. Last words. We're good, right?
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Chris, again. Have fun.